These last few days have been quite chaotic in your league. Just to give you an idea, in a short period of time, we have already had the following events: coaches getting fired and others starting their journey as head coaches, a training center being invaded, internal drama inside one of Brazil's biggest clubs, and of course, the good old refereeing causing controversy match after match. So, where do I start? Let's start talking about the dismissal of Juan Pablo Voivoda, who until recently was in charge of Fortaleza's team. Well, it was no secret that the coach hadn't been delivering the same good results he used to. The elimination from the Nordeste Cup, a regional tournament that takes place in the northeast of Brazil, was the final strike for the coach. Fortaleza lost to Bahia and said goodbye to the competition they had won last year. On top of that, we also have the club's terrible performance in the Brasileirão, another key factor behind Voivoda's dismissal. The club is in a tough spot right now in the league, stuck near the bottom of the table and fighting to stay in the top tier of Brazilian football. To be honest, I don't see this decision to sack the Argentine coach as a good move, and I'm gonna tell you why. Voivoda hasn't just any coach. He was one of the longest serving coaches in the league, alongside Abel Ferreira. He brought more organization to Fortaleza and a new perspective to the club. He led Fortaleza to a Sul-Americana Cup final in 2023, the first of the club. Also, he won the Cearense Championship 3 times in a row and the Nordeste Cup twice. Okay, sure, these are not domestic titles, but these regional titles are important too. But this is Brazil. Here, coaches get fired faster than they can unpack their bags. And patience is a thing that is always in short supply. The truth is, in the Brasileirão, past achievements don't buy you much time when the present looks a little bit dark. Unless you are Abel Ferreira. Voivoda became the 12th coach to be fired in the 2025 Brasileirão. Yes, you heard that right. 12 managers out in just over 3 months of competition. That's insane. The new head coach of Fortaleza is Renato Paiva, who was sacked by Botafogo after a loss to Palmeiras. And speaking of Botafogo, after firing Renato Paiva following the Club World Cup exit, Botafogo went crazy, I guess. They had one of the most intriguing arrivals in the league this year. They brought in someone with a legendary surname. I'm talking about David Ancelotti, the son of Carlo Ancelotti, who's currently coaching the best national team in the world. David has spent years working alongside his father at clubs like Everton and Real Madrid, but this is his first job as head coach. So Botafogo is kind of making a big bet on the young coach. In his first appearance, he hasn't even been officially registered as manager yet. In the derby against Vasco, he was still listed as an assistant due to paperwork delays. Here in Brazil, we call this jeitinho brasileiro. But make no mistake, he was the one calling the shots. And what I thought it was 2-0 win for Botafogo and another loss to Vasco.
Whenever you're put to the test, stop acting like you know the way ahead, like you know the rules. There are no rules, man. We're lost.
Man, I hope Vasco fans didn't invade the training center and put pressure on the players. Oh, never mind. They already did. His official debut as manager though was against Vitória on Wednesday. It's way too early to judge, but the signs are promising. Let's see if David can implement the Botafogo way. Sometimes I ask myself, what would it be like to go 1 week without any controversy involving Brazilian referees? Maybe in the multiverse that's possible, but here in real life, that's far from happening. And once again, we have a controversial moment in our league. Another questionable penalty to add to the collection of absurd calls in our league. This time in the match between Corinthians and Red Bull Bragantino. At first, the referee didn't call anything on the field, but VAR had other plans. After the review, the ref ended up awarding the penalty and Bragantino, who had nothing to do with the mess, took advantage and scored. In the end, Bragantino defeated Corinthians in their own stadium. In my opinion, that was not a penalty. But what about you? And now, to wrap up this week's madness, let's talk about Pedro, the star striker of Flamengo, and a man who's not exactly thrilled with life at the club right now. A few weeks ago, news leaked that someone inside the club was suggesting Pedro could be sold for 50 million euros, and that upset him a lot. Pedro said the leak affected his focus and performance. This past week, Pedro reportedly left the training session early, and his coach, Felipe Luis, hasn't having it. In the press conference after Flamengo's win against São Paulo, Felipe didn't hold back. He said Pedro's behavior bordered on the ridiculous and that he had violated the team's core values, especially the culture of training. Pedro hasn't even included in the matchday squad. That was his punishment. Now, this is dangerous territory. Pedro is a high-level player and Flamengo needs him. But no one, not even one of your top scorers, is above the team. And that's it for this week's update. 12 coaches sacked, VAR still causing chaos, rising stars making their managerial debut, and one of the country's biggest clubs dealing with internal drama. This league never fails to amaze me. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment, and like the video if you enjoyed this week's update. See you next week.